was a huge summer of failures for Justin Trudeau. NAFTA, pipelines, increased taxes, just the illegal border crossing crisis, disaster after disaster after disaster. It was great today to finally get back to Ottawa and be able to hold Justin Trudeau to account for these failures, because a lot of your jobs depend on this. So I'm just back home tonight after a long day in Parliament, and I wanted to bring you a few updates about things that happened today that matter to you. So first of all, we had a major change of events happen here in Ottawa in the Conservative Party of Canada, and that's that a Liberal member of Parliament, Leona Oluslav, she stood up in the House of Commons and talked about how she just really felt compelled on behalf of her constituents to make a statement that she didn't think that Canada was going in the right direction. And she actually decided to cross the floor and join the Conservative Party of Canada. So if you haven't had a chance to watch her speech in the House of Commons, it's something that's worth watching. I encourage you to do that. But certainly also, I know some of you have written into my office asking like, well, Michelle, you know, I don't agree with floor crossing. Why did that happen? I actually, it was one of those days where you remember back to earlier in your parliamentary career. I gave a long speech in the House of Commons a few years ago about floor crossing, and if it's motivated for the right reasons, it's actually part of our Westminster parliamentary tradition, in that when you vote for someone in Canada, you're actually voting for a person. At the end of the day, you might be voting for a party as well, but you're actually voting for your local representative. And we've had a lot of discussions about that in terms of democratic reform in Canada. And I think that it's really important to, as a member of Parliament myself, you have to remember that you are speaking on behalf of your constituents first. And if you feel like things have changed so radically and that the leadership of your party is failing you so much, or your constituents so much, that you need to cross the floor, that's actually part of our parliamentary tradition. And for the most part, all parties have had this happen one way or the other to them. So you can read my speech on that as well. But I think it's worth noting that at the end of the day, my responsibility is to the constituents of Calgary Nose Hill, and my first responsibility is to be a strong voice for them, stand up for their needs in the context of building national public policy, of course. But I think that's what my new colleague tried to do today. So watch her speech. The other thing was we had question period. Look, this is the first opportunity we had to question Justin Trudeau on a variety of issues, but certainly on NAFTA, on the illegal border crossing issue, on taxation, on personal ethics. Dominic LeBlanc, one of his top cabinet ministers, was found guilty of an ethics violation. The list goes on and on. It was really sort of tough to plan question period today, to think about, okay, what are we going to go after? Because there was so many things that Justin Trudeau just hasn't been held to account for. So tomorrow on my YouTube channel, I'm going to be posting snippets of question period. I asked about the illegal border crossing crisis. At this point in time, I think the case has been made. Justin Trudeau has failed Canada on immigration. So I'm starting to ask about why they won't implement the Conservative plan, which is to ensure that the Safe Third Country Agreement is implemented across the entire US-Canada border, but also that people that don't have a legal reason to be in Canada should be removed. We saw data last week that shows that the removal percentage is very, very low under this government, and we need to start restoring Canadians' confidence in our immigration system. And frankly, at this point in time, I think only a Conservative government is going to be able to do that. So I'm going to be posting my questions on my YouTube channel tomorrow. I also participated in debate towards the end of the day today around 7:30 on something called adjournment proceedings. And I did raise more questions about the illegal border crossing issue, but then many of you have written into my office and written into the party asking about the screening process used for someone who stands accused of first-degree murder in Burnaby. And I did ask a question about that as well. So it's been a busy day for me, but the key thing that I think you need to know is that I think a lot of people across the country, even people who voted Liberal in the last election, are starting to wake up and say, look, this Prime Minister doesn't understand that he's a public servant. He doesn't have a vision for this country beyond his own ego. And we are seeing the fruits of that 3 years after he has taken over this country, what really struck me today, sitting in the front bench of the opposition party in the House of Commons, like looking directly at Justin Trudeau, I got to tell you, at the end of the day, it like takes some effort to sort of wash that off. But what really struck me was two things. First of all, 3 years into their own mandate, every single one of his ministers' talking points is, this is Stephen Harper's fault. That is every single one of their talking points. It's just bizarre at this point in time. The other thing that really sort of struck me was that Bill Blair, this minister of nothing that's supposed to be in charge of the illegal border crossing crisis, it was like Ahmed Hussein gave him his crappy question period notes from last session, and Bill Blair didn't even put any effort into trying to refresh the crap that was in there. Like, he just was reading it straight out. I mean, at least he could have put a little bit, if he wasn't going to do anything to stop the illegal border crossing crisis, you'd think that he'd at least put a little bit of effort into trying to plan for question period, right? Anyway, it was both disheartening. It was both it was a difficult day, but it was also an encouraging day, because it takes a lot of courage for someone to do what Leona did today. So that was encouraging for me, but it was also discouraging just to see the fact that until we have the next election, Justin Trudeau has no intention of doing anything positive for this country. It's going to continue to be about him, his ego, his virtue signaling. And I'm really excited that we're starting as a party, as the Conservative Party of Canada, roll out our platform to inspire you as Canadians, that we've got something different, that we've got a vision for this country that doesn't involve Justin Trudeau's ego, that involves smart, pragmatic policies, that doesn't involve raising your taxes or adding more regulatory burden to this country. I get excited about that. So, pleased to be back in Ottawa on behalf of my constituents, raising these tough questions, holding Justin Trudeau to account. I have Immigration Committee this week. I'll be continuing to do those exact things in those venues, but certainly it's a busy day. So just getting home, 10:30 at night Eastern time. Very pleased. To any of you who are watching from my riding, thank you so much for giving me the privilege of serving our community and trying to build a better community for us. And for those of you tuning in from across the country, every one of my Conservative colleagues is working hard to stand up for you. Working hard for you in Ottawa, about to go to bed. Have a great day.